If you've been trying to break into cyber and you're overwhelmed with all the advice out there about getting certifications, learning to code, joining a bootcamp, this video is going to save you months of struggle. I've helped over a dozen people land their first cybersecurity gig, including people with no technical background, who are coming from completely different industries, such as publishing. The truth is, majority of what you see online about breaking into cyber is one, either outdated, or two, over-informative. What actually works in present day is understanding the right roles to go after and learning the skills that are necessary to do that job. You have to follow a proven process, not guess what comes next. I'm Sid, senior GRC analyst, who went from making around 100K prior to cyber to 400 my first year. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact steps that I and a dozen other people took in order to get into cyber. You need to understand what actually matters when you're applying, what you don't need to waste your time on, and how you can put yourself at the top of the applicant list. So let's get to it. The area of cyber we're going to focus on is GRC. This is the best place to get started because one, it doesn't require coding, and two, you don't need much deep technical knowledge. So let's start off with learning the language of cyber. Before you touch frameworks or risk assessments, you need to understand the language. Cybersecurity has its own vocabulary, and once you understand it, everything else becomes easy. So let's start with the basics like confidentiality, integrity, and availability, the CIA triad, threats and vulnerabilities, controls, standards, and control procedures, authentication versus authorization, incidents versus events, and finally, policies. If you speak these terms naturally in simple, confident sentences, recruiters will automatically think you belong in the field. Here's how to practice. Read a security article each day and write it in plain English, or take one cybersecurity term and explain it like you're teaching a friend. This alone builds 50% of your confidence going into interviews. Next, frameworks, but not all of them. Don't start with SOC 2 or ISO. Start with NIST Cybersecurity Framework, the cleanest, most beginner-friendly structure. NIST teaches you 5 things: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. This gives you the mental blueprint for how companies manage security. And here's the secret: senior analysts still rely on it to make decisions every day. Read one NIST category per day, write down real-life examples from your life, or more preferably your workplace. This habit alone will make you sound like you have industry experience, even before your first job. Risk assessments, let's make it fun. We want to know about this because it is the heartbeat of GRC. It's how companies decide what really matters and who to work with. But you don't need a company to practice. Do it with your everyday life. Pick an asset, your laptop, pick a threat, theft, water damage, weak passwords. Pick vulnerabilities, no MFA, no backups, open Wi-Fi. Pick controls, encryption, password manager, block storage, VPN. Then level it up like a pro. Estimate impact, estimate likelihood, recommend controls, and explain the residual risk. Now you're thinking like a risk analyst. That's exactly how banks, fintech companies, SaaS companies, and auditors evaluate real-world risk. This skill alone can have you look like you have 1 or 2 years of experience before you even land your first interview. Documentation, this is your secret weapon. This is where beginners overthink the most, but it's honestly the easiest way to look professional. In GRC, everything is documentation. Control descriptions, audit evidence logs, risk summaries, policy drafts, meeting notes, and compliance checklists. You start by writing clean, structured summaries. Now, it doesn't need to be perfect. They need to be accurate, consistent, organized, and traceable. If you can clearly explain what happened, who did it, why it matters, and what control applies, you're already performing at the level of an entry-level analyst. Documentation is how people get promoted in GRC. It's also how companies decide who they can trust with bigger responsibilities. So if you're serious about breaking into GRC or cybersecurity, learn these 4 skills in this exact order: cyber language, frameworks, assessments, and documentation. Master these and you'll walk into interviews sounding like you've already been doing the job, even if you've never worked in cyber before. Now, how to prepare for interviews without overcomplicating it? Know the core responsibilities of a GRC analyst. So GRC roles revolve around 4 main things: controls, are we doing what we say we do? Documentation, policies, procedures, and evidence. Risk, identifying issues and making sure they're tracked. Lastly, audit, helping teams prepare, collect evidence, and answer questions. If you can explain these in your own words, you're already ahead of most beginners and entry-level analysts. Next, we're gonna go back to the GRC language. So you wanna understand these terms. What is a control owner? What is evidence? What is remediation? What is a risk rating? What is a gap assessment? Audit scope? And lastly, what is NIST? I know we're reading about it every day, just make sure you know what's going on. You don't need to know everything, just know how to use these in a sentence. For example, I helped gather evidence for controls aligned to NIST and worked with owners to close business gaps ahead of audit. Clean, simple, competent. Next, we want to look at real life scenarios. Interviewers love hearing how you do a job. So practice. How'd you gather the evidence? How'd you review a policy? How'd you identify a risk? How'd you support an audit? Don't memorize answers, explain your process. You've done this before. This is what's gonna make you sound experienced. Keep it simple, speak the language, know the workflow, and you'll come across like you've already done the job. The biggest mistake beginners should avoid is chasing too many certifications, trying to learn the code, and following outdated advice that doesn't help them get hired. This process of getting certs, learning coding, and following old advice is gonna keep you spinning around for years. So let's take them piece by piece. Mistake number 1, chasing certifications like they're Pokemon cards. You don't need 5 certifications to get your first job. Most people don't even need one to land their first entry-level role. And the rest comes from understanding how security actually works inside a business, not what certifications you got last month. Mistake number 2, trying to learn the code when you don't need it. In GRC, nobody's going to ask you to build an app. They just want somebody who understands policies, controls, risks, and how to keep auditors happy. Focus on communication, frameworks, and documentation, not Python. Mistake number 3, following outdated advice from people who haven't worked in the industry recently. GRC has changed. Companies are implementing AI tools to help gauge risk. Tools like ServiceNow and Archer are combining with Power Automate, SharePoint to make sure that assessments are being done properly. Hiring managers care more about operational knowledge than they do about technical theory. Mistake number 4, trying to learn everything at once. This overwhelms 99.9% of beginners. Instead, learn it in the order I just told you. Understand what a GRC analyst actually does. Learn what a framework is. Learn how evidence controls and audits work. Finally, practice documentation. We're in week 1. This is what skills recruiters are looking for. So avoid these 4 mistakes that we just went over and you'll learn faster, interview better, and get hired without wasting months. Now I want to share a story about the first person that went through my course. They went from 0 to 300K in a month. Now they took the course very seriously and they listened to everything I said. So, they accelerated pretty quickly. However, that's not most cases. But they came from a data analysis background. They were used to taking financial data and summarizing it into graphs and charts. Risk data works a little differently. So we had to kind of rewire his brain to think like a GRC analyst, not like a financial analyst. But they went through these 4 steps initially within their first week. Well, really within their first day because he was a real go-getter. And they found success within a month. It's possible for anyone. If you know how to use Excel, you're ahead of the game. Most people in GRC right now aren't too familiar with it. So this is the full breakdown of what actually works if you're trying to get into cyber and want a clear, realistic path without wasting your time or money. If you follow what I covered and you get this done within the first week, you're ahead of 99% of people that are trying to break into the field. If you found this helpful, make sure you subscribe. This entire channel is dedicated to helping you break into cyber the smart way. We want you to land high-paying remote roles and eventually learn how to work multiple roles at the same time, utilizing AI and different automation tools to get 90% of the work done for you. I've got a lot more coming, so subscribe and stick around.